to get that, to cover the course. So I would say, looking at the middle of the course for your contenders, we have Brown in lane 1, Syracuse in lane 2, Washington is in lane 3, Harvard in lane 4, Dartmouth in lane 5, and Princeton in lane 6. Washington and Harvard won their semifinals to get here, and Dartmouth and Syracuse were second in theirs. If you look at the times, I would expect that Washington, Harvard, and Dartmouth look to be very top contenders, but I'm not going to count anyone out of this race.
No, we certainly can't. I mean, I think looking back on how things have progressed over the program this weekend, we've learned once again in our sport that anything can happen at any time, including to a top-seeded crew. So, of course, we're not seeing our top-seeded program, California, featuring in this grand final. Instead, we have a few outliers here. Brown coming in ranked number 8, and Syracuse ranked number 11. So outstanding turnarounds for both of those programs to land themselves lanes here in this grand final. And, of course, probably worth a mention, a little bit of retribution for Brown after just missing out on the A final last year, of course, coming away with the gold medal at EARCs in 2024 and then not able to turn it around and get themselves into the A final at the IRA. Here they are back in this grand final for the men's Varsity 8. The crew from Brown down at the bottom of your picture. We have a start for our last race of the program at the 2025 IRA. It's the men's Varsity 8, Brown, Syracuse, Washington, Harvard, Dartmouth, and Princeton.
Syracuse at 45. Washington at 48.5. Harvard at 46.5. Harvard, Washington, Dartmouth, and it may in fact be Princeton up there with the leaders.
Yeah, again, I think it's going to be all about how much advantage you can put out there for yourself in these early strokes, because the conditions are a little bit tricky today, even though they are incredibly fast. This is going to be the most optimal place on the track in order to get those seats on your competitors. The water is the flattest it's going to be, and it's going to be more and more choppy with every single stroke that you take. So this is the time to go if you have the ability to do it. Right now, Washington really going pretty evenly with the crew from Harvard. Probably not a surprise to see these two programs going toe-to-toe. It's been a few months since we've seen these programs match up. We saw them, of course, come together in Sarasota very early on. Again, it seems like ages ago at this stage, way back in March, that they faced off then. And it was awfully close then, too. Washington, of course, coming away with the win on that occasion. But does Harvard have something in the back pocket to turn around the margin here at the IRA a few months on?
Well, as one might expect, Harvard and Washington are on the lead out in front of the pack, just maybe a deck length over Princeton and Dartmouth.
Yeah, it almost looks like we're separating ourselves into three distinct groups, our middle lanes, and then our lanes at the top of your picture, Dartmouth and Princeton holding down those third and fourth place positions, and then this very even matchup on the bottom of your screen between Brown and Syracuse. But awfully a lot of overlap between all six crews at this still very early stage in this grand final.
Lanes 3 and 4 are inseparable. Harvard and Washington level with one another. They have maybe a third of a length over Dartmouth and Princeton. Dartmouth now just kind of showing their way into third place. Just a little bit ahead of, it's Dartmouth just a half a deck length up on Princeton. The top four boats within half a length of one another.
Yep, I think Washington is going to come up against a pretty big challenge as we come up to the middle of the race course. Harvard, of course, known now to have a very strong move that they are able to launch here at the halfway point, and we're looking at it manifesting right now as Harvard is just starting to draw level and bringing right along with them this crew from Dartmouth, who have also been very strong in the second half. But let's not rule out Brown over on the far side of your screen, also a second half crew. They've started to move through Syracuse and are on their way to challenge for that third place position. They might not feature as strongly on the camera because of where our drone is positioned currently, but we'll keep Brown in the back of our mind. There they are again, just really keeping tabs on this crew from Dartmouth. But Washington
with a seat. They've got, they're rowing at 39 strokes a minute. So is Harvard. And Washington's been able to squeak out a full seat ahead of Harvard. And that looks like a lot in a race that's this close.
Well, Washington has been a high-rating crew all season. We talk a little bit about how they almost don't really find a lengthen or a settle. They're just very aggressive, very athletic, keep the intensity very high, and really just keep it kind of at one speed all the way down the track. Harvard always able to find another gear as they come into that second half of the race. Will it be enough here? This crew from Harvard has just been so artful in the way that they're coached. They row so beautifully, very technically good, but I think, can they find a little bit of art just to add to the science in order to find that next level to get through this Washington crew in the late stages?
It looks like Washington is taking even more off of Harvard. Washington now has 5 seats, and they continue to have the momentum. Harvard is going to have to find something here.
Yeah, it looks like Dartmouth doing a really nice job just to track our leading crews. Are they really solidly into that bronze place position now? Just starting to edge out on Princeton and maybe try to challenge this Harvard crew, but Washington looking very dominant as we're coming into the closing meters, Dave. I think they may have done enough now unless Harvard really find a massive turn of speed inside these red buoys.
Well, then Dartmouth is coming. Dartmouth is coming on Harvard. They are just off of Harvard by maybe a deck or a little bit more, maybe 2 seats.
Yep, and here comes Princeton as well, coming right along with Dartmouth. It's just a seat or 2 deficit for the Tigers on the big green. Dartmouth really charging hard and challenging Harvard for that silver medal. I think it might just push them back on Washington. I think Brown is out of the conversation at this point, but these 4 crews, Princeton, Dartmouth, Harvard, and Washington all charging for the medals. I think it might just be a repeat for Washington as we come up to the line. Will they defend?
Washington, Harvard, Dartmouth, then comes Princeton in 4th, Brown in 5th.
Yeah, Brown not just able to manifest the speed they needed in that second half to match the pace of those crews from Princeton and Dartmouth. But wow, tremendous effort from Washington just to anticipate that big push that they knew was going to come from Harvard and from